Hey, what's up guys? Jeff from Texas Moto Works. So I'm just finishing up these carbs for this 400 Bandit. Kind of a cool bike, the 400 Bandit. I didn't really know too much about them, but they're a 4-cylinder 400. And they've got, it's a 91, so it's got these carbs. I've done tons and tons of these. These are the Mikunis. They were on a lot of the early GSXRs. So I know these carbs in and out. It's kind of a, you know, a big bore size for the 400. This is really what the bore size was close to for the 750s and the 600s. It looks like, I could be wrong, but they don't look too much smaller than what those are. I would guess these are probably 28s. I don't know if they made these in 26s. I don't know. Anyway, a couple of things to be really conscious of on these is this tube right here. This tube, and there's several, you know, they're on each carburetor right here and right here. But that's really, this one out here can take a beating. People take these off to clean them. It gets damaged, or I've had numerous ones where I've had to actually JB weld it back up here. So just be conscious of these carbs. Make sure, because if you break it where you can't repair it, you're pretty much done for on the carbs, at least that carb. If the rest of them are okay, you'll have to get one of these carb bodies. And they can be had, but you know, let's just try not to get, if we just don't get to that point, we'll be good. So, all right, with that being said, I'm gonna put these back together. So this bike was sitting for a long time. There was black goo inside the carbs. That's how you know that, you know, usually black goo is the worst state they will get to. Really sticky, gross. If you've ever been to the La Brea tar pits in LA, you'll know kind of what we're talking about here. I still got to clean this needle up, but what I've already done, the carb lever and the throttle was stuck closed on this bike. So I knew I had problems even before I pulled the carbs off. So I took them apart. I've already put the the choke plungers back in, and I sprayed some lube in there just because they were kind of, I mean, they were really, really sticky, and I wanted it to be, you know, a real nice actuation on the choke lever. But I let them soak in the ultrasonic cleaner overnight. A lot of pine sol, and they're really good. The butterflies were stuck together, and now they're working perfect like they should. So threw the plungers back in. I'm just going to go through and reassemble these in case you're working on a set. This might help you kind of to understand how they go back together. This is the choke arm. Let me make sure I do this right. This has got to be pointed up. It's like that. There we go. So what this does is it's kind of weird how this works. It will, no, I don't have it right, do I? Nope. Maybe. I think that's it right there. So this just kind of glides into, let's see. It could be a little bit tricky. I've always got the pause button on the GoPro if I get stuck. So I got that going for me. It came out really easy. So let's see, I know it came in from driver's side, if it was on a car, that is. So that's like that. And it came in this way. So yeah, I'm on the right track. Let me just figure out how to get it in here. I'm thinking of that. It's not feeling like it came out. Hold on guys, I'm going to pause until I get this sorted so we don't waste your time or mine. All right guys, I'm the idiot. I was in totally the wrong place. Not there. Not there. That's to be right here. So this just pops in, and all of your choke, there we go, boom, boom. And then what you do, once you get that popped in like that, these little guys just slide in like so. Boom. And then what I do is I'll just do a little tab of, just a little shot of PB Blaster. It didn't come with one in the center, and I've seen a lot of the Mikuni carbs, they don't. I don't think they do. So theoretically, this should, there we go. Good. And then what I'll do is I just open it. Again, I'm only doing this because it was so fouled up, like stuck. It wouldn't go anywhere. Good. Good, we're good. Okay, so that's the choke deal. So what I've got to do now is I'm going to throw the main jets in it. And I just realized I have the plastic pieces that come up, that go in, which is my next step. And I realize those are outside, so I'm going to go grab those. I'll be right back. See how great that is? Doesn't waste your time, doesn't waste my time. So I had to run out and grab these. So always remember when you put these slide in. Always remember to put these little O-rings back in. They fit. And you know, basically with anything with these carbs, if you forget it, you're going to be hurt and you're going to be pulling them back apart. Now what I'll do is I'll leave it down like that instead of trying to turn the carbs upside down. That way it just, I don't have to worry about that O-ring falling off. And look at that, boom, pops right in. So there's uno, like that. Get this one. It's funny because I mean, most people can get really intimidated. They sit and look at all these parts and think, oh my gosh, what do I do? But just go slow. And you know, if you're taking them apart and you kind of feel like you might forget, it's always a good idea to shoot pictures along the way when you're dismantling them. That can really help you out later on. Boom, that goes back in. Just a note, if you look at these, since they're going back in now, they have little indentions. You can't really see it, it won't focus right. Little indentions where they were sitting. So try and get that back like that. That'll just help them seat better. And they do go in one direction, like that. Got it. And one more. Do this one. Do you like my purple and yellow gloves? Purple and orange gloves? What is that? Is that Lakers? No, Lakers is purple and yellow. Dolphins is blue and orange, right? I don't know what team is purple and orange. Okay, there we go. So those are in, and you needed those to get in there because what we're going to do now is put the main jets in. The main jets will thread into the bottom of the emulsion tubes. Very important on these. It's something that's often overlooked. People don't bother to clean out the emulsion tubes. There's little tiny holes in here that have to be clear. These were really bad, and it's important you get those clear. And then what I do after I clean them, if you can't get it with jet spray with a carb cleaner, you can use a piano wire, the small one, to go through and clear those up, and then hold them up to the sun and look through them. If the 3 holes here and the 3 holes on the back side are clear, you'll be able to see through. Or just hold them up to a light and look at them that way. That's a good way to do it too. But just note when you're putting them back together, they've got a little notch in them right here, and there's a little pin right here, and you can see it on the side, so you know which way this has to go in. So this has to go in like that. Long time ago, before I knew that, I spent a long time trying to get that. I couldn't figure out why they weren't seating down correctly. So what I'll do is you're probably not going to insert it exactly perfect. You're probably going to get it down there, see if it goes all the way down. And if it does, great. Another little telltale is to see if the emulsion tubes are sticking straight up, or the emulsion holes, I'm sorry, are sticking straight up. That knows that you're on point. That one looks like it's going to be pretty close. Oh, look at that. What a professional. So, you know, those go in. I think that has to be tapped down just a little. There we go. So it should be totally flush right there, like that. Just in case you're wondering, these are Mikuni. I don't want to give misinformation here. I think these are VMs. On the GSXRs, I'm going to check that out. VM, I think they're VM I'll check that out later. I'm not going to give misinformation right now. I could be wrong. If I remember right, they're VMs. I just don't know what size the ones are on this Bandit. Main jet back in. You know, it's a good idea when you get these out, get yourself a magnifying glass and look at the main jet and the pilot jet sizes. And when they're out and when they're cleaning or they're in your emulsion in your ultrasonic cleaner, look up the pilot jet sizes and see if they have stock pilots in there or if the bike's been jetted. It's just good to know. If you got a completely stock bike, you should most likely have stock jets. If you've got any kind of running issues, who knows what somebody did before you own the bike. That could solve an issue right there. It's always good to put them back to stock if it's a totally stock bike. Some of the 90s bikes, you know, they were known to be lean from the factory in the mid-range, like the ZX11. So, you know, that wouldn't hurt if you wanted to jet it up a size or two in the pilot. I don't know. You know, there's big debate about this, whether you should, you know, do a jet kit on a stock bike. And my experience is, for the most part, the Japanese motorcycles, most of them were jetted fine from the factory for stock. But there were exceptions. Like I said, that ZX11 I had was terrible through the off idle up until about mid RPM range, and we changed the pilot jets on it and put a shim under the needle, and it made a huge difference. It was much more rideable. So, but anyway, short answer to my story right there was just take a note to your jet sizes and kind of let you know what's going on with the bike. So you can see there we go. Tried to push that one in a little bit. It wasn't hitting that pin right, so I just took my needle nose, turned it a little bit. Remember, you're working with brass fittings here. Everything's soft, you know, so try and just treat everything really light and easy, I should say. Now, I've already pre-cleaned these jets. One of them was pretty darn bad, so I had to use piano wire to go through. It was a pilot jet, and one of the pilots was really clogged. I had to go through and kind of clear that out. I've already put the pilots in. The pilots have these little caps on them. So now we're just putting in the mains. I'm going to get a little bit better screwdriver because that one's a little bit small for what we're trying to do here. Check out my shoes. I've got matching laces to my glove. Look at that. All right. All right. And we're back. All right. So not too tight on these. It's just making sure the emulsion tube and that plastic piece is seated correctly with that O-ring, putting pressure on that. All right, this one. So I always mention this when I'm doing carb work, but you'll notice that always the #1 carburetor, oops, that was a fail. The #1 carburetor, and that's the one that's the first carburetor on, if it was a car, the driver's side, on the left side of the bike, always is worse than all the rest. And the reason is because usually when the bikes are stored, most of the time they're stored on their side stand, gravity takes over and all the fluid builds up in that one carb, sometimes drains out from all the other ones. So all the other ones might be decent, but the #1 is terrible. These three were pretty good on this bike. They weren't bad, but this one was awful. So it's, you know, it's on its side stand like that. That's what happens. So, all right, we got that thing in. Something else that's good to remember is always try to work, how do I say it, methodically. So, like, don't jump ahead. You see how I'm doing this? I'm putting in the emulsion tube. Then I'm putting in the pilot jet. I'm going through and I'm making sure that I just do everything kind of in an order so that I don't forget anything. But, I mean, you might feel better putting all 4 of the emulsion tubes in and then come back and doing the jets. Just do it in some kind of pattern so that you don't forget anything. Nothing worse than putting a set of carbs together and you have one piece left over. And then you got to take them all apart, go all through them. Something that'll help that I should be doing on these, so a little bit of a tight fit, the emulsion tube going into that plastic piece. So I'll just put a little bit of PB Blaster on this one, make it a little bit easier to go in. And I'm doing real, look at that. I batted 1,000 on getting those in the right orientation into that, so they fit in that little pin. That went well. All right, and final main jet. Not too tight. Next is going to be kind of a fun, I say that not completely serious, but fun in terms of it's going to be pretty technical. These are the mixture screws, springs, washers, and little tiny O-rings, and it's really tough to make sure you've gotten all of them out of the carburetor. None of them are sitting on the bottom of your cleaner or have dropped out and are on your shop floor somewhere. Usually I don't know, one gets away somehow, but I do have extras in case, and I think this time I'm pretty good. I look like I'm short one of the, I'm short one of the little washers. I've got extras though, but that's the teeniest, tiniest thing in the carburetor. Right there is those things. So let's just go one by one here. So what you want to do, I've already cleaned these. The way that they go on is spring, washer, teeny tiny washer. Really fun to pick up with gloves. There we go. Oops, look at that. Come on, rookie. So you got spring, washer, and then you've got your O-ring. The reason you've got that washer is so when you crank down on these, the spring doesn't gouge into the O-ring. Like that. There we go. And that one can drop in. I'm just going to look inside of these real quick. Good. Just drop it in. Another thing, when you're taking these apart, if the bike's running great, or if it's a stock bike, or, you know, I guess that doesn't really matter what you're working. If it's something that was running before it sat, take note of what the mixture screws were at. Because you should put it back to there, because the chances are it was might have been running good before it got neglected and it sat. You can always come back in and adjust these later, but as a baseline, I tend to like to just put them back to where they were, and then I can work back from there. Then once I start it, if it's running weird or wonky, I can kind of play with these. So if you haven't done these before, go down until you feel it stop, but don't mash them in. You got to really make sure you feel it kind of when it's at its stopping point. So I'm going to go 2 turns out, set it there, and here we go again. So we got this teeny tiny washer. Good. And, oops, sorry about that. Screen on my GoPro, I gotta get it to not time out so quickly, because I always want to make sure I'm on point. It's pointing in the right direction. Okay. There we go. So that one, same thing. And if you're good, when you get all this done, there's going to be no parts left over on your little area here. So I'm going 2 turns out. There we go. Numero trace. Really good idea if you do this a lot to have these. Get a little package of them. And the rubber O-rings. I took a magnifying glass to these and took a look at them. They looked really good. I did not buy a carb kit for this bike just because You know, I really don't have a reason for that. A lot of time what I'll do is I'll pull these apart, take a look at it, and then kind of determine once I pull it apart if I need the carb kit. Now, these carbs were dirty, neglected, but all the rubber stuff and you know, it all looked good. I just didn't think I needed a carb kit. But mind you, there are ones where you open them up and, you know, some of the, especially like the 70s bikes, you'll open them up and the rubber will be all gone or what have you, and you got to order a carburetor rebuild kit. If you do, get the one from K&L. They are the best. They're the closest to factory. There's a million junky kits that are on eBay that are pretty terrible. They don't fit correctly. Cheap materials, just not good. Let's see if I can find that little guy. Otherwise I'm gonna have to go over to my stash. Yeah, okay, all right. Like I said, it's important that you get this. Let's see what we got. There it is right there. Wow, really hard to pick up with gloves. Okay, I'm going to put it onto our needle right there. I'm going to hold it very securely so I don't drop it and lose it. Okay, and here we go. Oops. Yes. Wait a minute. Hold on, guys. I'll be right back. All right, guys. Got tripped up there for a minute. Thought that I lost the black rubber washer, but I found it. We're good. So, get these back down. Just until you feel right there. And go 2 complete turns out. Bueno. All right. And we're going to throw the floats back in. I've already cleaned these. Made sure that they're all good to go. Let's see what we got. Okay. These were a major pain to get out, and you know, I'm sitting here dealing with, God, how old? 91. I mean, it's almost what, 30 years? 30? No, yeah. Next year it'll be 30 years. 30-year-old plastic. Very nerve-wracking. So just, you know, be conscious of that when you're working with stuff like this. If you're doing vintage bikes like I'm doing, just be really aware, because yeah, there's a lot of parts out there, but you just might break that one part that's made from unobtainium. So been there, done that. I've done that. So you can see where I'm going when I'm doing with these. I'm going over. There's a little right here. See that? I'm just going over, popping it in, making sure it's seated. They've got little O-rings on them. God, wouldn't that just suck breaking one after that speech I just gave about not breaking things? Don't jinx yourself, man. All right. So just make sure that those are seated. And I like it. I like it. Let's put the, these are, you know what? I tend to not throw these in the ultrasonic cleaner. Just because I worry about their gaskets. If they're holding fluid, you know, there we go, clean that out. If they're holding fluid, I tend to not really mess with this gasket or pry it out, depending on the condition. These were in really good shape. So make sure when you're putting these back on, obviously they're all the same, but make sure that these are pointing outward. And like I said, with these carbs, they really weren't that bad, except for that last one. That number one, it was actually the last one that I opened up. Was pretty rough. Black goo. Let's see. Oopsie. Rookie alert. Come on, man. Pay attention. And here it is right here. This is it. So, kind of goopy. Now, little secret for you guys that I had to learn was I used to spend a lot of money on carb cleaner. Believe it or not, Walmart is excellent for this stuff. You buy these cans of the Super Tech. There's not a lot that I'll buy from Walmart, but as far as automotive is concerned, but the Super Tech carb cleaner is some good stuff. It won't do you wrong. All right, so that one goes. No, come on, dumbass. There we go. Now, my favorite tool for doing old carbs like this is my little compact impact driver. It's perfect for, these bolts can be really difficult. In the early years, I've stripped countless numbers of them trying to take them out with a screwdriver, and that just doesn't work. They're kind of soft and corrosion over the years. They're in pretty bad shape, but the impact doesn't even give them a second to think about it. It just, bam, hits them with all that torque, pops them right off. In fact, go grab it right now. There we go. Now, I kind of know by feel where it should be as far as when I'm cinching them down, but if you're a noob with one of these, just be careful. You don't want to over torque one of these or break it. I usually just get them snug first. And then I'll go back and hit it for just one hit. When I say hit, that, hear that sound it makes? So, alright. Oops. Still not that bad. Like that, just one little, get them snug, and then just one little snap. Like that. Already did that one. You want to make sure that these are tight, because this is where your done fuel is going to go. All right, good. Look at that. We're slowing down in parts here. So let's go up here. What we're going to do, always make sure you inspect the diaphragms for leaks. Anything, they're really delicate. I tend not to do much to them. You definitely don't spray carb cleaner on them. You want to make sure there's no rips or tears. These needles were pretty gummy, so I'm going to clean them up here real quick. So this bike came to me not running, dead battery, and I'm hoping, I put a battery in it, I'm hoping just cleaning the carbs, it's going to start right up and be wonderful. And sometimes that does happen, sometimes. Let's see what we got. All right, so you see what I just did. I dropped in the needle, the little keeper for the spring, and then the spring, I'm going to do it again. So in case you missed that, I'll do it again. Just drop them down. You want to make sure the needle goes through right there. Boom. Look at that. It's pretty. I'll go ahead and seal this up. Something to always remember when you're putting the caps back on. A lot of people forget this. There's a little O-ring that goes right. There's my, okay. Yeah, no, I'm good. Okay, there we go. And then make sure spring. And then boom. And you know what? I'm going to sink these carbs when I get the bike running. So I'll be taking this off. Hold that like that, keep pressure on the spring, and then put your little friends back on like this. Same deal, these are plastic, so just be real gentle with them. But they gotta be snug, so just wait until they touch. Good. Beauty. All right. On to the next one. So just to recap so you can see what I did. So here's a pretty disgusting needle. Look at that. That's got some of the remnants of that junk that was on it. So I'm just going to hit it with carb cleaner. And you know, a lot of people don't realize you got to be careful with carb cleaner. It does not like plastic. It does not like rubber. People get a can of that and they start just going crazy with it. You can't do it. There's some surfaces, like if you spray it on one of these, not good at all. So basically I drop the needle in, and then there's the spring keeper right here. That goes in, and then the spring goes on top of it. There's an extra, there it is. Hello. Boom. Drop it in like this. Make sure that seats well, that fits in, make sure it's all fitted. And then this one had this little keeper, it's a cable management. Put the spring in like that. You can kind of feel them. You'll put them on, and if the diaphragm's not seated in the slot, you just kind of move the cap around. You'll feel it drop in. You'd be surprised. A lot of doing these carbs, you just, as you do a lot of them, you kind of get, I guess the easiest way to say it would be you have a feel for them, or you get a feel for them, that is. Okay, so that's 2. Here we go. Let's take this guy out. I have a new puppy. You can hear he's very interested in my video, you can tell. Alright, sorry, I'm cleaning it off camera, I know. Just getting them nice and clean. They say with carbs, everything should be really clean, and with brakes, it should be surgical. So, why not just do surgical on carbs too? Alright, so this drops in. Bam, right through there. Boom, seats. Good. Drop your cap on. Oh, I might have, you know what? I think I forgot that in the last one. I have a tendency to, for 2 things. One I've grown out of. Had a tendency for a long time to forget to put the springs in. And then I have to take the cap. Did I just do it again? Look at that. See what I'm talking about? This, for some reason, I always skip them. I don't understand that. Pretty methodical guy. But let's just say that has happened before, what you just witnessed. So let's get this. I'll show you something that I missed on that previous one. Let's take a second to fix. You know, when you're shooting a video, you're talking and you're not being as sharp as you normally are. But it's all about helping you guys out, right? Okay, go check this out. What I missed. Yes, there'll be a spring in it, but right there, boom, boom. Like that. Those are important that seals, because that'll be a instant vacuum leak. And actually, you actually pull off these tabs to do your sinking. You pull off these little plugs, so I imagine it'll probably throw off your sink as well. All right, we're doing great here. We're doing great. So now, let's see. We're going to do last one. Pull the spring out. Definitely decreasing on parts. See, look at that. See that junk on there, that blackness? Yeah, not good. Not good stuff at all. And normally I can get away with an hour in the ultrasonic, but these just needed, I just think they needed a lot more. I'm pretty sure the pilot jet and main jet circuit that comes, you know, past the tubing, if you will, was pretty bad on probably pretty badly clogged, so that's why I did that. Drop that in. It's got to sit. Make sure that that sits on top of the needle correctly. Then drop your spring in. Don't forget this. Don't forget the spring. Oh man, don't lose things. Here we go. All right. Come on, dude. How many people are watching this video and you look like a total rookie right now? Okay. Truth be told, I'm not. I've been actually doing these carbs in one way or another since my early 20s. So the only difference is now I actually know what I'm doing. Back then, I thought I knew what I was doing. There's a difference. Okay, so that's good. So, and then these had this weird, I haven't ran across this, but they had these, which are definitely some sort of, I don't know, but they had these weird things on them. Look at this, with a little ball bearing in it. So, here, let's do this. They were tough to get off, so this should make them a little bit better going on. And they were really tight, so I'm not worried about the PB Blaster taking them back off. But it's very weird, you know, why not just have a cap? I don't know, I don't get it. And you know what, look at the cuts. So that might be something that this bike has a pipe on it. So maybe this was a something that a shop did. I'm not sure. I'm sure somebody will chime in on my video and let me know. Yeah, definitely not Suzuki. A rubber tube with a ball bearing inside of it. It's kind of odd. With all this being said, I'm looking around. I'm not seeing any extra parts. So I think we're good to go. What I'm going to do is get them back on the bike, get some fuel in it, get it started. I know that's optimistic. And then I'm going to sync them all up. And that's really it. The bike's ready to go. I'm going to polish you see the can on it? I'm going to polish the can, and then I've already polished the paint. I got to straighten out the front fairing a little bit, and then it's up for sale. So depending on when you watch this video, I still might have it. If you're interested in it, give me a shout. All right, next video, bike should be running. Let's hope. Okay. Okay, runs like a champ, but I learned one thing. You know, motorcycle carburetors, they've got so many passages in them. And these were a little bit different than what I'm used to working on. So when I got them back together, I started it up and it seemed like the pilot jets were clogged. It was a hard time starting, didn't want to idle. Just didn't seem like it was getting fuel. But I checked the floats and there was fuel in there. But what I overlooked when I redid them is on the float itself, there's two tubes that go to the carburetor. And one is the tube, the main one with the float needle in it. And then there's another little tube that goes up front into the carb. And I believe that goes to the pilot jet. Well, that tube has a little port that sucks in fuel. It's teeny tiny port. And they were clogged. It was clogged. And I wasn't getting any spark, or I was getting spark, but it wasn't running on the first cylinder number one. So I took that one apart, found that, cleaned it out. I thought, you know what, I better check them all. And I checked all three of them. So I won't ever make that mistake again, but it just shows you've got to be every single little port on these carbs, especially ones that have been sitting and neglected and had black goo in it like this one. But anyway, it runs like a champ now. I just synced it, so I'm gonna throw the tank on it. Probably ride it to Bikes and Coffee tomorrow. So tomorrow's Thanksgiving, maybe a little early morning run. But anyway, so that's that. So we're good. All right. Hope you enjoyed my video. Please like my page. Visit us at Texas Moto Works. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and we got quite a few videos on our YouTube. Alrighty, take care.